Pro move, mate.
How long have you been doing this?
And welcome. I'm the Restless Kaiser.
And I am Johnny B.
I'm Clueless Mike.
Miller.
And that is Miller's Miniatures. But together we are
Modeling. Well, we've had an awesome start to the show, guys. I ran the intro clip, which was a new clip, and I forgot to press the go live button. So for those of you that missed it, enjoy. Right, so here we are. Good evening, everyone. So let's have a quick whip round the table then and see what we're all doing tonight. I am going to be putting some little bits of clump foliage onto my SPQR goals. They're nearly done, look.
So close. In
conjunction
with that, I'm putting pupils on your chieftain. He can look in two directions. He can look in two directions now. And I've also got an old RTB7 Imperial Guard squad in front of me, which I may or may not be working on. Clueless, what are you working on, sir?
I am working on a classic Gabriel Seth in metal, obviously, because you wouldn't want one of those horrible fine cast ones. I should be painting Sanguinius, but instead I am painting one of his more wayward sons.
That's close enough.
What are you up to, Miller?
I am taking the advantage of tonight from converting from Citadel pots into dropper bottles with agitators.
Now that is a pro move.
Yeah, it's not going very well. The paint's running really slowly.
Right. Okay. We do have a giveaway this evening. I should have said earlier, and I should have had it nearer. We're going to be giving away a Flames of War manual in this grubby bag. It is inside, I assure you. We're going to deal with that a little bit later. See if the correct key phrase emerges in the chat. So
don't ask me.
Look at the comments.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
No,
I haven't got any words. Choose a word.
So, Brush and Quill is here. Fatal Paper Cut is here. Sub Commandante is here. Duncan FX. Thank you, chaps, for the giveaway last week. Oh, cheers. Glad to know it arrived. Steve Harbour is here. Team Clueless Games, a friend of yours, isn't he, Mike?
Hi there, Nick.
Josh Wood, Brush and Quill still here, having recently become a member, even though he's on the show. Thanks for that, buddy. Alan is here. Good evening, buddy. Friends of General Haig. Boots on the table with Dom. Evening, buddy.
Nice.
Evening, all Waterloo British line for me tonight, sir. All the reds and whites. And your mate Martin from Seventh Son Miller. Look at that. There we go. All right, so John.
John Miller. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
All right, guys. So I'm Miller, and pretty much mostly my channel is just focused on historical stuff. Recently started delving into Lord of the Rings and a bit of Drop Zone Commander, but I just do whatever I feel like doing. Love to do the hobby over the gaming side, so whatever takes me fancy and whatever I can afford that month, pretty much. That's about it, really.
Very nice. This is good.
Very nice. So yeah, well, your channel is called Miller's Miniatures, right?
Yep.
And it's mostly hobby updates. And recently, you've been doing a lot of English Civil War stuff, from memory.
Yeah. I'm hoping to change the hobby updates more to some back reps when things start changing. But for now, I'm making. Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of back reps and battles, then let's see if we can start with the big topic for tonight. Well, not necessarily the only topic for tonight, but let's talk about this, guys. So you've all seen this. What's Battlefront? Not Battlefront. Bloody hell! Warlord have announced a new starter set for bolt action which is set in the Pacific. As you can see here, we're going to get, rather than getting the ruined hamlet building, we're going to get that tiny little piece on the left, that spider nest there, is the scenery that comes with it.
I was going to say, is there any terrain in there?
Yeah, mate. That's that tiny little. I'd say pillbox is not really the term for it because it's very small. But there's
I can't wait to see that battle out of the box.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Well,
a blank board with a little spider's nest in the middle. You know, where all the Japanese are.
Maybe it comes with instructions to make a kind of like Tracy Island style Blue Peter bit of scenery.
Maybe. This is cool though. Is this one you're going to get, Kaiser?
Oh, definitely. So. I've already asked for a sample copy for the show and pre-ordered 5 copies for the web store. Yeah, so I had seen that it's going to be 75 quid. I think the current one is 70, but it looks like you're going to get back 4 sprues of infantry in a vehicle for each side. So there's more troops in there. There's more value, and it's probably better balanced than the Band of Brothers one.
I did see that they're changing the price of the new one or the old one at the moment, aren't they? As well, they're meant to be upping the price by a little bit.
Oh,
the Band of Brothers one. Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be to 75 if it's at 70 at the moment.
Yeah, they won't want to undercut their new product, will they? So they'll pump up the old price to match.
Pump it up.
So I like this. I like this a lot. Not just because he's not replacing it. The sales guy that speaks said not replacing it. It's going to work alongside the idea.
That's the noise. That is the noise right there, Miller. It's the bleeding glass ball bearings, mate.
I haven't even got one in this one.
Well, it sounded like a machine gun going off then.
I won't do that again.
All right. Go on then, Kaiser. What was he saying?
Yes, like, love that they said terrain. It's like 1 manhole. I think it's 1 manhole and 3 manhole covers or something like that.
A manhole is not terrain.
What I like about it is it gives you an alternative access point to start the system, I suppose. I
like what you did there. An alternate access point.
Oh man, yeah, mate, obviously all the connections.
Nice pun. Good pun.
Yeah, because if you're looking to get involved, the good thing about these starter sets is you get your dice, you get your tokens, you get your templates, all that kind of thing, and a lot of the value of starter sets is often tied up in those things.
Yeah,
it can save you quite a bit of money. If you've already got a World War II 28mm collection, you've probably got Germans or Americans at the very least. The previous one probably didn't necessarily appeal if you had them from other companies. Whereas this is a theatre of the war that I really would like to see a lot more work done, and I think it actually suits the game system better. It really is about small unit tactics. It is about 20 guys fighting over a clearing in the jungle or whatever.
Yeah,
sticking a Japanese tank in there is a little bit odd, though. I mean, you know, the Japanese,
a light tank, though, isn't it? It's not going to be too difficult to beat up.
And the Japanese had very, very few tanks, but they did use them. They did put them into big offensives. They, you know, what few hundred tanks they had, they did use them all in one go to do one thing. You know, they knew what to do with them. They just didn't have many. And in theatre, at the right time, if the other guy hasn't got a tank, it doesn't matter how crap your tanks are. If that's so. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that the kind of US Marines, that's about island hopping. That's not. See, there's 2 offensive happen in the Pacific. The Central Pacific is a Navy operation. The South Pacific is an Army operation. So the Army fights through New Guinea and the larger land masses and going towards the Philippines, whereas the Navy does the island hopping. I don't think that there's tanks facing the Marines at any point because they're not fighting over large land masses. Yeah, they're the ones that are fighting over these bits of coral in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah. Well, there must be some tank action, but you know, I've only ever seen it on documentaries when they're attacking like the one airfield, one airstrip,
Henderson Field. Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll maybe have a couple of tanks there, but you never see too much of it. Are you into Mr. Miller, sir? You do a lot of historical, from what I've seen. But do you do bolt action? Is that something you're going to maybe get into?
Yeah, no, I've got bolt action. I've got an American airborne force,
Nice.
German, fairly big German army. The German army's a lot bigger than the others. I've done a showcase on it quite early on the channel.
I need to look that one up then.
Yeah, no, I really love bolt action. And to be fair, if anywhere, that's going to be where I'll start doing my back reps, because I've got a couple of mates around here that are into it and want to learn since. And yeah, it's definitely something I want to get back into doing when possible. To be fair, I haven't actually done any new bits in a while. Actually, that's a lie. I picked up the is it the Rubicon? Do the resin guns? I picked up some super heavy AT guns. I think.
I think Rubicon might do a few resin bits. I mean, they're more well known for the plastic kits.
Yeah,
but no, they do
a few resin bits. Yeah.
Yeah, resin.
But I never did anything with them. Built them, and that's
not yet. Not yet. It's in the pile of potential, sir. That's where it is sitting, resting.
Exactly.
That's where it is. Oh dear.
No.
What is he laughing again? What's he laughing at this time?
I'm not going through the comments. So that Amtrak would have been better. US Marines. Yeah. So what always happens though with these starter kits is they try and showcase their better pieces, don't they? I think they do make what's it called? The amphibious vehicle with the Holston gun on it. The Buffalo. They do make one, but I think it's resin. I think it's 20 years old and resin and metal, and nobody wants that stuff, right? Weighs a ton. Shatters into a million pieces if you ever drop it.
I hope they do bring out a plastic one soon. I feel like they have. I don't know why, but I feel like they had it on their website.
Someone has.
It's either them or, as Miller was saying, it might be Rubicon. I hope Rubicon bring out on there.
If anyone knows where we can get a Buffalo in plastic,
a plastic one,
yeah, 156 or 28 mil, we'd be interested. Because in our little campaign, we followed Normandy, Falaise pocket through to the Dutch border. We realized that we were going to need amphibious vehicles for taking Antwerp because it's a big part of that operation. Yeah. And I did not want to buy a load of resin ones. So that's bolt action part 1. Don't let resin near Johnny B. Yeah, the guy's a disaster.
Yeah, best not.
Not Warlord resin anyway. So if you haven't seen that video, just look it up, Warlord resin. I'm gonna try and turn the camera now because John and I have been doing some practicing over webcam for our next bolt action game.
Ooh.
There's the board that we set up, but what you've probably not seen so clearly is how many animals there are on this board, because this isn't going to be a normal game, is it, John?
No, sir. This is one. I'm pretty sure one of our viewers maybe mentioned it. It was a bit after the Nuts mission that we did with the propaganda.
Oh, the carrots. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it come out of that. So yeah, we're going to be collecting some animals to eat. It is Christmas soon, you see.
Yeah. 1944.
You're foraging, are you?
We're foraging for cows.
So we're competing against one another for victory points worth of animals. I've written out unit cards for the different types of animals and how they react to being handled.
Oh, brilliant!
So
especially when you bring out Johnny B's milk churns that he's got as well.
Mate, you'll get some of them painted up.
I best get working on them. Yeah, those milk churns finally
got to use. Yeah. So that's going to be one of the first games that we've been practicing to test kind of how the rules are. We were not all of the animals are friendly, and it turned out that some of them were a bit more dangerous than we'd intended.
Most of them more dangerous than the forces I had on the board.
Have you been finding trying to play over webcam with each other?
It's not
easy. I've got a sort of, especially what you just saw there is primarily what I can see. So I can see the cows, but it's to regards where I know there's pigs on the board somewhere. I know there's chickens on the board somewhere because I painted some up, but I couldn't tell you where they are. So the Kaiser's got to kind of help me out a bit when we're doing that. I think the best one we did was when we tried the ACW stuff. That was pretty clear with the old blocks of infantry. That was a bit of fun.
My mate Mark and I tried.
It is not easy, especially when I'm saying, "Oh yeah, move the unit on the left," and then forget that Kaiser's looking essentially at me, and then you move the wrong unit. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, my mate Mark and I had a game of 40k over webcam during the first lockdown when we were both having real withdrawal. Yeah, and it worked, but it did take about 4.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm just looking forward to actually being able to go and play. That would be really nice.
I'm quite lucky. I've had a couple of games now.
Well, yeah, but you've had some Garden Hammer. You've had a bit of Garden Hammer going on, haven't you? So
yeah, that's it.
Still on the topic of home brewing, then, that's not the only. We played about, I think we played 11, 12 games on camera of Bolt Action now. There's the 10 main games. There was the 0.5 tester game, and there was the Learn to Play game. So there's 12 games. We're doing quite a lot of Bolt Action. One of the things that I have a problem with in Bolt Action is it gets very samey when you play a lot of games, especially if you use the default army list building. You end up with everybody's got a mortar, everybody's got a tank, everybody's got, you know, several 5-man squads or whatever. It's like, no matter what army, they're very, very similar after a while. So trying to create scenarios. So we were looking at, like, when we go back to Bolt Action, let's do a little bit of home brewing, not too much. So we've got some historical scenarios we want to play out, for example. But the other thing we talked about doing is a bit of 1940k, isn't it, John?
Yeah, so we can't claim Bolter Action because that's already been taken, you see, by Team Clueless.
Yeah.
So we can't use that.
Yeah, I copyrighted that.
Can't use Bolter Action, so we've got to use 1940k. And it's a take on it. If you get a chance, I don't know how recent you've done one of those, Michael.
Oh, haven't done it in 9th edition, certainly. I think, did we do it when we went to Warhammer World that time, playing on that big pipe battlefield? I think that was a cross between.
Possibly. But yeah, you know, Mr. Clueless has taken a few elements from Bolt Action and applied them to 40k in various ways. He has got some back reps up there, just so you can see what it's on about. Our one is going to be more
the other way around
than it is 40k. That's good.
Yeah, so we're going to be playing a game of Bolt Action where Space Marines are veterans with body armor, for example.
Oh, I see.
Whereas you basically played 40k, but with the activation sequence from Bolt Action.
Yeah, that because I've played a couple of games of Bolt Action and I enjoyed both games. But the thing that really stood out to me was I loved the activation sequence. Yeah. It was you go, I go, but with a bit of a mix on it. One of the things with you go, I go is that you can often get the double turn, and that's one of the interesting things. Yeah. But I don't like the fact you can plan for the double turn. I really like the random element of the initiative system from it.
And going first isn't what you want to go. I do need to deal with the giveaway type stuff, don't I? Which normally draws a lot of attention. So if you want to win the Flames of War manual, just to keep Dom from Boots on the Table with Dom happy, could you please say Badgers? If you want this as it has to come up. He's a huge Burrows and Badgers fan. So if you want to win the Flames of War manual, in the comments, Badgers, please. So home brewing and rules then, while we're on this topic. There's a lot of people have done it. A lot of people have strong views on it. I'll kind of comment on this later, where people feel some people are purists, some people their games they play have very little relationship to the original rules. So, Millie, you said you're much more of a hobbyist than a gamer. Where are you stand on home brewing rules?
What you mean, taking your own take and
even writing your own straight up, or just taking the rule set in the direction you want to go, making changes with the people you play with?
To be honest, I'm fairly game for that, because recently I was thinking I like you said about using the random activation for 40k. I quite like that as a rule or as a mechanic. So again, I thought about doing it for things like for the pike and shot sort of stuff. But there is, I found out a version for the English Civil War. I can't remember what it's called. which uses a similar sort of mechanic, but I think you only get, rather than having each unit having your own, you only have so many counters to pull out. So you are limited on the order, so you have to make sure that the regiment you move, so rather than moving every regiment, you move maybe half of your army, sort of thing. And again, I quite like that.
Number.
Yeah. So yeah, I quite like the idea of, even if it's not just homebrew rules, but just having some of your own house rules and things like that. I think that's always makes things smoother, because if you find something you don't like, then there's no reason why you'd have to stay following that, is there? You can always make it more comfortable for yourself and anyone else who isn't quite comfortable with a rule or finds it hard or something. But
True fact.
It's interesting because more or less every role-playing game you pick up will have a bit in the front of it that says, these rules are a guideline. Feel free, if you don't like something, make your own, do something different, ignore that rule. Whereas war games are seen far more as a fixed rule set. I mean, certainly from a 40k background, I enjoy changing the rules up, but only
by the community, Mike. Even in the 40k books, it's like, this is just some guidelines. You could do.
But the community hates anything that's even slightly not following the rules. You're like, oh no, that's house rule. You got to ignore that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but is that more a case of people who are competitive and go to tournaments, as opposed to people who just want to play the game for?
Oh yeah,
I think so. And tournament competitive people are louder on the internet, aren't they? There's far more of a crowd of tournament players that are sitting on their keyboards typing stuff than there are casual players. I don't know why, but there seem to be.
Yeah. That is a true fact.
Yeah. As someone who runs a war games club for kids, I can tell you that there are, and we were all probably like that. There are an awful lot of 12 and 13-year-old kids playing Warhammer, and the Warhammer they play bears very little relationship to what it says in a rule book, and they're perfectly happy. They're perfectly happy. But it's an interesting topic, though, I think, because you mentioned that, like, the community thing, and I think that the term community, we're in the YouTube, where we are the community, right? We're part of it, and we see that. But I think that when people online talk about the community, they're actually really talking about a really narrow part of that community. There is an online community, the people that engage in forums and YouTube channels and so forth. But I don't think that their views are at all reflective of what is actually being played more broadly. I think there's almost a group think goes on with online approach to wargaming. I feel that there is a way that it is done, and people get really confused when things are outside of that envelope. Don't really understand it, and I find it quite odd, certainly where historical gaming is concerned. As one of our friends, Chris, was talking about getting into Black Powder, and was saying, but there doesn't seem to be a point system. How do I know how many I have? Or something along those lines. Yeah. That
was the first question. Sorry, that was the first question. How many points do I need? Where do I start? It's like, it's not, is it?
Yeah, well, those of us that come from a more traditional historical background, I used to play Napoleonic 6mm with, on a 1 to 20 scale. We had armies of 100 odd thousand, but there was no attempt to balance the armies. We fought the battles with the figures that were available, and we adjusted the reinforcement schedule a little bit to make the game a bit more interesting here and there. But broadly speaking, point systems, because I find point systems just as flawed. I find point systems are deeply flawed. In fact, when you talk about, and you see it in Warhammer, when people talk about good units and bad units, it's not about whether the unit performs well. It's about how cost effective it is.
Yeah.
And
any unit can be good if you drop the points well enough.
Yeah. And so and once you get into a point system, it really skews the way the game is played. Bolt action, light tanks with 4 machine guns on them because of some crazy 1930s design end up being ridiculously powerful because you pay a very small number of points for what they do. The fact that these vehicles were all scrapped because they're junk. Is no, mate. These are really good. That our tank isn't actually made with points, you know. It's made with time and money. Yeah, home brewing. So you're big on home brewing, aren't you, Clueless, mate? You're a big fan of home brewing.
I love home brewing. I do play competitive games, and certainly my friends prefer competitive games, but I love home brewing stuff. I mean, you'll have seen some of my battle reports. I write up all my own data sheets myself, and in the chat, Clueless Games, we play a game called Monster Hunter for 40k, where he's got all kinds of fantasy miniatures. Like he uses a big giant spider. He's just kickstarted the Joan of Arc dragon, which is a dragon miniature, which is the size of the laptop I'm sitting here in front of.
Wow.
It's humongous. And we're going to build a dungeon quest game around that, where you have to go and see if you can nick the treasure without waking up the dragon. And it's all, I generally find you think of a base idea and then just go with rules around that. And then you can use which of the main rules you like.
You literally own that game already. You can't say you're making it up.
I do own Dungeon Quest. It's one of my favourite games. So we're going to play it, but in miniature form, and have Space Marines and Orcs trying to steal the treasure.
Dungeon Quest is the the single-player game for up to 4 people.
That it is, and the game that
Zero
if you manage
interaction.
to survive to the end, you've done really well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So John, homebrewing of rules. So I've said one from Boots on the Table with Dom there, said I think he's right on the money. The homebrewing is fine until you play somewhere else.
Well, yeah, this is true. It's home brewing, isn't it? You do it at home, right?
Yeah.
So if you do go somewhere else, like, don't expect it to be accepted by other players. You can run it past them. That's the thing. You can run it past them and maybe sell the idea. I think that's maybe where the whole points thing comes in, and that is a common language in a lot of wargaming systems, I think.
Yeah,
maybe why it's so. Yeah, it's like you walk into the shop. Oh, you want 2,000 points? Do you? Yeah, cool. Right, let's go.
I think you're right. That common language is really succinctly put, John. I'm surprised. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
It allows you. It allows you to play a complete stranger and have some concept of what you're going to get. Yeah, definitely. So, as Manny, we're giving away Flames of War manual this evening. You need to say a Badgers in the comments if you would like to win it. Right. Okay. So, yeah, let's quick look to the comments. Hardcore Tony players that are the ironclad rules. Yeah. And so one of the things that bothers me about homebrewing, and it's similar with scenario design, is it really, really depends upon the individual. Butter churns. Where they're coming from, because I've played quite a bit of homebrewed, especially scenarios, and I just look at them and think this is horrendously unbalanced. The person who put this scenario together clearly has no idea, or is quite intentionally doing it, how much the bit of the scenario that they've put in and the rules they've created for it are going to totally dominate the game and radically change it. So I don't know. You put some kind of defensive installation that you're supposed to overcome, except that defensive installation can overpower the armies that are trying to, the objective has become.
Have you watched one of our bat reps when me and Michael, Mr. Clueless, worked with Jason? Mike did exactly that. He was like, right, John, all you've got to do, all right, there's a defense wall you've got to get up to with the 10 Gene Stealer cultists.
Right.
And I'm going to put 4 quad auto cannons on the wall.
I think it may have been John's skill at playing may have let him down there.
Right. Okay.
And then another time he was like, yeah, kill team, let's put a tank in it. You got to stop the tank. But yes, there are some instances where homebrew rules don't quite, it sounds cool, right?
That is
the concept is cool. The script is awesome. But then when you play it, you're like, what the actual hell have you done? Fortunately,
yeah,
I had Trick Shot Timmy with his mining laser, and he messed up Michael's day. So it's all good.
My poor Chimera
got blown away. Take that. Oh, he's gone. Quick, we can change topic whilst he's coughing. Let's talk about Lord of the Rings miniatures game until Kaiser comes back online. I saw your spinny doofer. You had a very professional spinny doofer, Mr. I've forgotten your name, Mr. Bloke Man. And you had an awesome base as well. Miller, there you go. Miller's Miniatures. That's who we have tonight. Have you played much of it? Thank you. Have you played much of it? Is it an all right game?
I haven't. I collected all of the figures when I was a young lad. And
a youngling. A beardling.
A youngling. A hobbit. And
because it's
with the magazine.
Is it still the same? I don't know if you've had a chance to read the rules, but is it still, if Aragorn rolls a 6, you win the game?
Again, I don't know. I've got bits for it. I've got the rule book, but
not had a chance to get on the table.
Not all of this.
Things about it. I think Jason's played it. Our mate Jason, and he's always said it's a really nice rule set.
Well, I mean, it's had a few different rule sets, hasn't it? Since I don't know if it's changed radically.
I don't know what's changed in the different editions.
Yeah, I think it's meant to have changed a little bit. I mean, I watched the Zorp, who does a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff.
Know that.
He's an Australian fella, or New Zealand.
Awesome.
I think he's Australian, and he does some really amazing content on it, and definitely worth looking at him. And it just made the rules look really, really simple. So it seems like a really simple and easy game to play. It's not overly complicated like a lot of other games seem to be. You know, you can have a small army of maybe about 30 characters or 30 figures, and that's sort of pretty much your force. And it's something I want to get into. I've done a small force for Isengard as well. The Scouts from the first Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah,
and it's really cool. They were really fun to paint. And I can't wait to get a game in with them.
Wasn't that a chat? I didn't quite watch the video. Wasn't that like a gift from Seventh Son? Or he had something to do with it?
Yeah, I had some of the plastic ones, and then because he'd seen I was doing them, he had some of the original metal ones of the Scouts.
Oh, sweet.
And also I was missing a couple of the characters from the Fellowship, and he sent me a load of bits as well because he knew I was doing it.
That's what you completed this time on your Balin's Tomb. That looked pretty epic.
Yeah, I had that.
The game is still getting surprising amount of miniature support, isn't it? I mean, I saw they were bringing out new models earlier this month.
I thought it was dead.
It was up until a little while ago, and I think they're trying to bring it all back. I don't know whether or not because of the new Amazon stuff that's coming out.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if they're trying to sort out licensing for that so they can get the figures for that. Probably not. But if they can, then maybe they've got a whole new line of figures that they can make with a whole new load of stuff.
Well, that would be cool. It's something I'm tempted to dabble in that, just because it's such an iconic thing. I love the film, the story, and if it's simple enough.
I'm massively into Star Wars, but then I haven't done Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars nut, but it didn't appeal to me. I mean, partly time, really, for me. I don't have time to play more than one game. I don't have time to play one game, really. But yeah, Legion looks good, and I've heard it plays really well. I think I've played one game of it.
I'm sure I saw some comments earlier where Legion was mentioned, and it seems to have gone a similar way. I think it was when we were talking about points and metagamers and whatnot. I think it's been twisted into that line of gaming as well. So
I'm not a big fan of Fantasy Flight games, how they release their release model for their games, where they release a unit and it comes with cards, but then they'll release another unit in 2 months and it will come with cards, but you can use those cards with the first unit. So ideally, if you're a collector like I would be, you'd have to buy every single set just so you could use those later cards, which are going to be better with your miniatures you bought first. And that just rubs me the wrong way, really.
Yeah.
I've got the Star Trek. There's obviously X-Wing, but there's a Star Trek version of it called Attack Wing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I got that. I got into that after it was released. And again, it was so hard to get hold of the figures and the cards. So you end up they end up being quite expensive because they're so limited of them that you can't actually get the cards that are worth having in the end. So.
Anyways, we've done far too much talking. Kaiser's actually getting stuff done. So
stop.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, mate.
I'm going to live briefly. You carry on. Hold the show, Michael, if you could. It's a toilet break.
I will do the thing. Yeah, I'm just catching up with the comments. So just as a reminder, Flames of War manual this evening. You need to say badges in the comments if you'd like to win it. We've got a few in here. Man, I think a lot of the people who watch the channel have probably already got this. So I was going to talk about John's trees, but he's just disappeared.
His trees?
His trees, yeah. So Matt Foster, I really enjoyed your video on building a gaming board. He plans to create any more content like that scenery. So there's two aspects to that, Matt, really. One is that I think Mel the Terrain Tutor and Luke's APS really cover that ground very, very well. I think they've got it covered. And the other thing is that just the way that I work, I have a full-time job and a young kid, and trying to do this as well, is projects like that tend to happen over a very, very long period of time, and setting up the film equipment to do it is quite time consuming. What worked with the board was we kind of had done all of the preparatory work, and then lockdown happened, so I had a little bit of time in where I wasn't going to be at work, so I could do something that was like an hour and then let it dry, and there wasn't going to be any games or any other filming. It's like, now is the moment to do this, and so I could make it in a week. So is really why that happened. But just in general, I probably, it's maybe once a year during the summer holidays when I could do something like that. And I thought about it. We've talked about making static boards. The problem with static boards is the space afterwards. So I was looking at making something potentially quite disposable, but quite dramatic. So one of the and that sounds like an odd combination, I realize. So fighting for the mountain passes in the Caucasus in 1942. So what I'm kind of got a vision of a board that's like 4 foot deep, but with steep mountain sides and roadways cut into it, and literally going to fight 1 or 2 battles on this, because it'd be quite an odd battle to fight anyway. It'd be quite awkward to film, but we build it, we play the games, and then you're going to have to chuck it because this thing is just going to be so bulky. Most of the work will be like spray cans and flock, and
just carving it out of the pink
hot wire cut out of foam. Yeah, it won't look amazing, but it'd be very 3-dimensional. It was just a thing that could be maybe done, build it in a week, play a few games on it the following week. Not promising to do that, but it is something that I've spoken, because James' workshop is just getting into the whole bolt action thing, and he's interested in the early part of the Soviet-German war.
He's interested in the Soviets. I'm shocked.
Indeed, he is. Yeah. So, but yeah, basically, I just think other people do it better. But when the opportunities come up, we will do some. Wargaming with Gary is here at New Line Cinema, just trying to catch up. Boots on the Table with Dom says, "I love badges." That is a lie, Dom. You hate badges. I've watched your show. You definitely do not. Weasels. I'll take a weasel.
Weasel counts, does it?
Have you guys looked at that stuff? That
Burrows and Badges. Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen it. Every time.
What is it?
Who knows? Who knows what it is? I didn't get close to the table. It looked weird, man. It's like Farthingwood, the combat game. It was just what was going on.
I mean, I played Farthingwood, the role-playing game, but not the miniatures game.
I want to be the heron.
Use a pasting table upside down.
In answer to your question, Alan, no, I just had to hold my own separate stream in the bathroom.
Oh, boo! Oversharing. Brush and Quill mentioning the pasting table there because he made himself a drop-zone commander gaming board. Check that out on by using a pasting table upside down because it's kind of pre-segmented.
Why not use a pasting table right side up? That would be good.
It's like a briefcase sort of thing.
He laid the foam into it because it's already battened.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense.
On the subject of pasting table, it's a bit of an ulcer of mine. Is I borrowed a pasting table, and I can't even remember what for, from John's dad, who I've never met. And then we put it outside, and he forgot to take it home, and then it rained, and now it's warped to hell. And I'm thinking,
we were working on the desert
board. Pasting table.
We were working on the desert board
in the garden.
Whilst the weather's good, let's work in the garden. This is a good part of a year ago now, surely, yeah. And it rained the next day, literally just chucked it down, and it was dead.
And all the hardboard surface, it all buckled. It's like, okay, I can't give him this back. And it's still outside.
It's going to rain.
Yeah. What was cool is that when it did rain, it reactivated the wallpaper. So, like, it was proper slimy.
So the other thing then, John, we talk about, there's only 20 minutes to go, by the way. If you want to win the Flames of War manual, you need to say badges in the comment. So, John, tell them about this. Speaking of modeling.
Ooh. These are trees.
Mate, if you didn't know, guys, there you go.
Okay, so there you go. Right, so what you see right there on the screen, on the left-hand side is the cheap Chinese trees that I bought many, many moons ago, and I've seen a lot of years of service, but as you can see, they're looking a bit naked now, and the foliage wasn't particularly good in the first place. So, Kaiser gave me a few tips and give me a few pro tips to be sure, and I've plucked them all out of their bases, and I've sprayed them brown. Halford's Halford's camouflage brown, which is a thing, and then you just slap loads of PVA on it and dunk it in some Jarvis Scenic Phlox, and you have what you can see on the right hand side, which is a lovely voluptuous deciduous tree ready for action. It's not a good example there because the one on the right is pretty much exactly the same tree but with the flock. But I have got
it's a good example.
Well, it is a good example.
There's a before and after right there.
We haven't got an example of the extra work that we've done on the other ones. So we've made them look quite different by just snipping out a few branches here and there.
Yeah.
And it completely changes the shape. And I was quite
But I can because that was my second tip, wasn't it? So
well, you've got some there, yeah.
So if you see here, you
well,
just chop some bits out of it.
You'll have to put yourself on the big screen.
Do I need to go big?
Why don't I? Small.
Why don't I go big? But
just on your face.
Ah,
nice.
So they're just a lot more irregular.
Completely.
Yeah, it's really different.
And that's really good. So I've got a majority of that done. I've still got 4 more of the Renedra bases, those oval bases, with 3 a pin.
So I can.
So there's another. Oh, we get a tour of the board. This is the closest I've ever been, mate. You put the cabbages out.
Yeah. We got the cabbages out. This has been our tester.
You've done good.
Looking good.
British camp over there. American camp over there.
Yeah.
Cows, pigs,
chickens,
deadly geese. Deadly geese, mate.
Yeah, it's specialized animals worth different points.
Yeah. And the geese are tough fighters, mate. Obviously.
Geese should be worth a lot. They are tough to catch.
Yeah, they fight back, mate. So no, I just thought it was an interesting one because a few people terrain came up. It was something that John had done recently. But yeah, snipping a couple of those branches off has really made a difference, hasn't it? And doing that in the flock. And that's just your standard. It's the same 3 flock collars that we used on the base, the light, the standard, and the dark tone.
Yeah.
And I found that cheap as chips, mate. Yeah, absolutely. And you tried it with the coarse one, but you then went down to the fine one. You found that was better in the end.
The coarse one, you'd think it would work a treat on it because it'd give you a little bit more volume, but actually it just took a hell of a lot more time to get rid of the excess because it was all catching up in itself. And we're losing a lot as well because when you're shaking it off, some of it comes off, but then you move it and the rest falls on the floor. So it was much easier to just use the fine. So if anyone goes back to do that with cheap trees off of Wish, get yourself the finer flock to do it. It just soaks up and it actually stays on the branches a hell of a lot better. So yeah, good stuff.
If you buy the cheap trees off Wish, they are. I mean, we used them for a long time, haven't we? They're decent, but they are going to take a month to get here. So just plan ahead. is the only thing. Rosie Raccoon says badgers are my second spirit animal. Ooh.
First one is
she doesn't want to win a Flames of War manual though.
No, put her in. Please put her name in.
Delivery would be cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my missus is going to go see her tomorrow, actually, because she's she needs a passport photo doing.
Oh, I don't know where she's working tomorrow. She might not be local.
That's looking smart. Absolutely. Hardest paint to find, the camo paint. Yeah, mate.
I was looking all over the place. Couldn't see it.
Nice board. So, only 15 minutes to go. Just do the talking about. In other news, for anyone that cares, anyone that doesn't know, and I don't think there's anybody in that category. Games Workshop seem to have closed down for 2 weeks in terms of satisfying delivery. We had an order through one of our suppliers earlier this week, and we're told they're not going to be able to get anything for 2 more weeks. So that's a thing. And they have announced that they're re-releasing Necromunda, a game that I have bought, painted, played, sold, and I'm probably going to buy again because I want to like it, but I know the game is trash. The game is bad.
It's a better price point this time, though, isn't it? Because the last box that had all of the Zone Mortalis terrain, because I was really interested in the terrain, was monsterly expensive.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. And that was solely to push the new terrain, I think.
Yeah.
This new box, at least the gangs in the new box set are slightly more balanced towards each other, i.e. not Goliath versus Escher.
It's not,
the Lack versus Escher, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. So on the subject of terrain, then, Miller, where do you stand on how important is terrain in a game for you?
He's not played any games.
No, I played some. Yeah, no, terrain. It depends on the game. I mean, if you're going to play I like terrain on a board. I don't just want a blank board, and I don't. I see a lot of games where people have, say Martin stuff. He uses the mats and things, not mats, but he uses like carpets and things and forms. He's gradual hills.
He's got
as opposed to,
doesn't he?
Yeah, I think they're brilliant. But as opposed to like just a polystyrene green hill, I'm not a big fan on that sort of thing. I mean, obviously, you work with what you've got. I mean, I've got some of the old Games Workshop hills, like they came in a pack of 3, and you had 3 different shapes, and they were literally just like a bit of plastic with a block on the top. And I still use them now. Yeah. And I think they're brilliant. And when it comes to buildings and things like that, I've got a load of the Sarissa buildings for the bolt action stuff, and I really like that sort of stuff. And even now, at the moment, I'm building a star fort for my English Civil War stuff.
A full one?
So so like the Warlord Games one that they've got, the resin one.
I don't know, but I've been to many star forts, and they're huge.
Well, obviously I think it's probably about meter by a meter sort of size. So it's going to take up a bit of it, and it's in 2 halves. So just for storage purposes.
It's a board in itself. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
and
it's go on.
And is that is it a Sarissa thing that they do?
No, so I've done this one purely out of Celotex, and other bits like that, making it all myself from scratch.
Sweet.
Scratch build.
Oh, that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, I've done a couple of the videos on my channel for it, and it's coming along.
How have I missed those ones? That's crazy.
They're literally because I haven't been pushing it. They're literally snippets at the end of some of the videos, just quickly showing it off.
Okay.
The thing is, it's just one of the little side things, and I don't get a lot of time to paint as it is. So it's either you're painting a figure or you're doing the base, just the table. So it's weighing up that sort of what I rather do. And I need to get some coffee stirrers at the moment for the paneling. And it's just I keep forgetting to order it, and then by the time you want to do it, you've not got the bits you want to do. But yeah, I'm trying to find ways of making new terrain myself because I'm massively into having the board looking nice as opposed to just whatever you've got. You know?
Yeah.
You work with what you got. People use anything. You know, you could just use your kitchen table and use boxes and whatnot, can't you? It doesn't have to.
There is a whole channel dedicated to it, I believe.
Kitchen table war games. Yeah. Guy doesn't make. He's got. I think he's like a round table that's 3 foot across, and he gets full action games on it and stuff. Yeah, mate. The guy's making the best of what he's got, doing a good job. Yeah, I with the scenery. I mean, you know, I know John is basically wargaming is just Polly Pocket with soldiers for John, and I think I think a big part of me is like that. You know, it's one of the things because the conversation around painted versus unpainted miniatures, it kind of comes back. It never really goes away, and it's left me because of the live stream and chatting about it with people, thinking more and more about why. And I think it is that spectacle aspect of the game. You know, why we line up our soldiers, we put them in display cabinets. I think for me you know, that's a big part of the game, the visual enjoyment of it, and the kid who's still like, you know, clipped Airfix soldiers off the sprue and lined them up on the dining table at 7 years old. Put them into rows with the drummer in the that's still a part of it that I like, I guess. And I think
terrain is certainly for me is not in later life, but in later as I go through the hobby. When I first started playing, I didn't paint the miniatures. Sometimes I'd just dip them in a colour, sometimes literally dipping. And terrain, it didn't matter. You'd just stick a Coke can down or whatever. It's just something to get in the way. Whereas now it's all part of the, what's the correct word? The verisimilitude of getting kind of like absorbed into the game. Yeah, it's a big word.
All right, Captain Big Word.
I think that the amount of work that a lot of us all put into painting the figures, you want to be able to put it on a table that, you know, exaggerates that and works with it. You don't want to spend hours and hours painting an army and then just stick it on a green, like a bright green board, and then with a couple of, like you said, Coke cans on it, and just. I really do think it's linked in with how long you've been in the hobby. I think everyone starts off what Mike was just saying, books under the little bit of green felt that you got and Coke cans and stuff, right? Because you know you get into it, but the more you mature with it, the more you put, as you say, Miller, the more time you put into it, the better you get at painting. It just doesn't keep up to scratch, then, does it? And you have to have the setting, otherwise it's pointless.
Yeah.
Last call for it at 5-2. I'm going to do the draw. If you want to win this week's prize, Flames of War manual, then badgers in the comments. Also mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. We have got the Band of Brothers starter set to give away when we hit 2,500 subscribers. Warlord have already sent it to me. I asked them early, thinking there might be some haggling, and they've already sent it. As soon as we get within 50 subscribers of that, we will do a video on what you need to, and it'll basically just be leave a comment. Essentially, we will be giving that away. So, you know, your wives, mothers, daughters, uncles, get them subscribed to the channel to bring us closer to that point, 2,500 subs. The thing that I was talking about, the scenery and terrain, though. Do you find a similar thing with basing? I find basing is something I look at somebody who paints far better than I do, and they don't bother to base their miniatures.
Shut up.
And that it galls me. It's like, this is not finished.
Clear acrylic counts, man.
Clear acrylic might count. But you know, a black base that it came with that's got a few paint strokes on it definitely does not. I don't know,
yeah,
I don't know about for me, until it's based, it's just not. It's not in context for me. I don't know. What do you reckon, Mike?
Basing is, I mean, basing something that I've been struggling with for the past couple of years. So during lockdown, I rebased. I think how many was it? I think it was something like 215 Space Marines. Rebased,
Wow.
I cut off all of the old green flock, which I'd been using for years, and I stuck rings around them to expand the bases and then completely redid the tops. And at the start, it was a right pain in the arse. I did 10 a week for most of a year. But now it's all done, I'm so happy I did it because I spent far more time doing it afterwards, proper basing, dry brushing, sticking some bits of little flock on it, and they look so much better. But now I look at my demon collection and I've just painted Mortarion and I spent ages painting him. But because I'm a little bit OCD, I've based him just with the standard kind of like glue on rock that I've used for years on my demons. And I look at him and think, I really want to do a better job of that. But if I did it, I'd have to rebase 200 demons. And not sure I can face that. But it makes such a difference, as the Kaiser said. It's finishing the model, isn't it?
For me, yeah. And it's something I found really difficult to do at the end. Right, I'm going to do the draw. Dark Arnold did try and put 3 separate Badger comments. So it may be that he really wants this rule book. He's only got 1 entry in here, though, I'm afraid, mate. Here we are. The winner is that Tony Tiger? Tiny Tiger. That was someone early on, I think. I can't read my own writing. Oh no,
that is grim.
That is proper grim.
You're obviously a doctor in the previous line.
Yeah. Oh mate, there was somebody with a name like if that's you, Tony Tiger.
Is there any tigers?
How embarrassing is this? While I scroll through this, Miller, why don't you tell these beautiful people at home where can they find you? When do you post all that kind of stuff?
So you can find me at Miller's Miniatures on YouTube. I haven't got any Facebook pages or anything, but I do think I need to get one going. I try and post as much as I can. Lately, I've been a bit slow, but mainly I'll post over the weekends, little bits here and there. Definitely check us out if you're into anything historical, especially English Civil War. I've got quite a bit on there of that. And then there's going to be some more Lord of the Rings stuff, more English Civil War. And recently, I have just picked up the starter set for the Landsknechts, or Landsknechts.
Nice.
So I'll be diving into that quite soon, if you're interested.
Okay. So, it's Landsknechts, eh? That interesting. So, what's the appeal? Is it just where you are at the moment? You've been doing this English Civil War stuff, or is there a particular thing about it that appeals to you?
Doing the Landsknechts?
No, the English Civil War stuff in general.
So when I was a young lad, and as I grew up, we always did the English Civil War reenactments for English Civil War Society.
Oh, right.
So
Is that like a sealed knot equivalent?
Yeah. So they came before the sealed knot. They were together and then they separated, sort of thing. So exactly that. I was always into that, and then obviously always into hobbying. So then it was once I realised that you could get an army of English Civil War, it was like sold. There you go, I'm in.
Right.
And then obviously it just progressed from there with all the different periods as well. And most of my armies now, if they involve pikes, I'm going to get involved in it. So like with the English Civil War, pikes, bang on that. I wanted to start a Macedonian army because of the pikes. Now
it's just a pike thing.
And even with the Wars of the Roses stuff, it was like, wait, Burgundians get pikes?
Burgundians get pikes, right?
So yeah.
Well, we'll win.
Burgundians get pikes. Pikes for the win. Well, that wasn't the answer I was expecting. And where do you focus? I know it's one of the conventions that's been developing, and I can't remember if you do. I know Martin does on Seventh Son. Do you base to the depth of the pike?
So I don't base that. I base obviously the 40 by 40 bases, but because I have my pikes charged, I've had to buy some movement trays that allow for that. but then obviously is now sort of in hindsight thinking, well, and a lot of people think the same. Where do you measure from with that extended front sort of thing?
Yeah.
So I like it because it looks good and you've got that bit on the front, but then it's a bit like, well, now your units, and especially if I was to have a battle against Martin, he's obviously got 80 mil on his bases and I've 80 mil. So now rather than being butt up against each other, they're 160 mil apart.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to look a bit funny, but I think it protects the models and it looks awesome.
If you don't know what we're talking about, and I don't have a pikeman to show you, but I can illustrate it with a cannon. What I'm talking about is the convention with a lot of, not a convention, but a growing kind of idea, is that with pikes that are set, you increase the base depth in front of the model so that the pikes are not hanging over the front of the basin.
That makes sense.
The big advantage with that, like with guns, is if the base is deeper than the pike, then they don't get damaged nearly so easily by being moved around, especially in storage, in boxes when they rattle. The base, it hits the edge of the base rather than bumps into the pike or the gun.
Especially if they're resin pikes, they'll snap like anything.
Yeah, well, I used to have some Carthaginian, some Libo-Phoenician back in days of 6th edition, and they had piano wire pikes, and they would draw blood. you try and pick that unit up from the front, I would literally just pierce your skin about 6 or 7 places. Smith, I'm afraid you missed it. Tony Tiger is tonight's winner. Mate, if you are here, you need to get in touch with us through the website, modelingforadvantage.co.uk, and we will get this shipped out to you wherever you are. Matt Foster says he does love a bit of basing. Rosie Raccoon says you're a silly sausage. Subcommandante loves sealed knot, fun bunch drinking, smoking stuff, and sword fights. Well, that's not what I thought it was about, but probably if I'd have thought about it hard, yeah.
Yeah, that's about 90%. The battle's about the other 10%.
Yeah. Okay. Just play everything at 3 mil. That was us, guys. Next week on the show, we have got the man, the legend, the green skin himself, Mr. 6+ Stevo is going to be with us. Hopefully discussing all things orc. Miller, it has been a real pleasure having you here. I hope you've enjoyed it. On Friday, I am hoping to get out on Friday a little update video of the American Civil War Callistra models that have got painted, because they've been a very, very long time coming. It might make an interesting contrast. There's a lot of stuff about Warlords Epic 12 mil at the moment. These Callistra are old metal ones. They look quite different. They're similar size, but they're definitely not compatible. But you can have a look at them. That'll either be this Friday or the one after. That's it from us, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show, and thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.